Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with the main man, Martin, for your fans forum. As we know, Tuesday night is always fans forum night. Make sure you smash that like button and hit that subscribe button. Help us continue on that march to 6,000 subscribers. I was just saying we've gone past 5,800 subscribers, so I need to change the graphic. I was in the middle of doing that, but we needed to get on the show. So we're getting closer and closer. We want to hit it before the start of the season. So you know what to do, everyone. Like and subscribe and get your comments in. It's been an eventful day. We were just chatting, Martin, before we came on, and we're going to get right into it. But first of all, how are you doing?
Doing good. Third podcast now in a row. I'm being good. I'm being consistent.
Exactly 3 weeks in a row, mate.
3 weeks in a row. I'm a brand new man. New Year's resolution. Few months too late, but we're here. Nonetheless, better late than never.
Yes, good man, good man. And we've already got comments flying in. Don't forget, fans forum night is your night. So any questions you've got, any comments you want to make, please do get them in. People are saying I need to turn the redirect button. He was trying to redirect. So I don't know how to do it. Someone's going to have to help me with that. But we'll try and get that going. Evening to you, Pete. Evening to you, James. And Michael, I would say evening to you. British Mick, evening. Kevin, Michael, Gary, good evening. Wonder if Marco drives a Volkswagen Polo. We're going to get into that as well.
That's rolling in already.
Adam, good evening to you. And engine number 9 is here. Bear in the Garden is here as well. Good evening. And Stephen, great to have you in. Yes. I will sort it out. I do need to get back into the actual channel on YouTube online. So I will get that redirect set up and obviously link up with Josh because it's a great channel. And Sai is back in. Great to have you on, mate. First time on all summer. No problem. It does seem like that sort of pre-season is back in swing now. You know, the shows will start to come thick and fast. Everyone's back into that sort of moving forward with the season. So I guess we might as well start with that. Walsall pre-season game tomorrow. I mean, how are you feeling ahead of this kind of? I know we're going to talk like transfers and rumors and everything like that, and we know what pre-season's all about. But just as a general rule, how are you feeling sort of after the end of the season? Maybe 4 or 5 weeks of, not really too much football at all. How are you feeling in anticipation of this kind of seeing Aston Villa back in some shape or form tomorrow night on Wednesday night against Walsall?
I'm looking forward to it. It's good to see some players come back and trying to get their fitness back and being sharp for the season ahead. But like I always say, I don't really care too much about results in pre-season. What I care about is performances and keeping up your fitness. I've always said it, and I keep saying it to this day. So for me, what I'm kind of expecting, yes, I'm expecting some sort of, positive performances, some sort of, positive fitness updates on players, and a good chance for some young players to try and cement a place and the bench or try and get some rotational games and the first team if the first day of the season comes about. And, more importantly for Walsall, it's a day out or night out for Villa fans. It's also a chance for Walsall to get some revenue in the door for them, which is always good, the annual friendly game. So for me, I'm just more or less kind of focused on players keeping up their fitness and, just having some positive performance for the season ahead.
Yeah, Lee agrees with you. Performances mean nothing. It's just fitness. And that's the thing. I mean, we don't really know what kind of team, how many minutes they're going to play. It'll probably be one team that'll play the first 45 and another team will play the second 45. We've seen players that have just returned back this week. The ones that are on international duty. We saw the first day that they reported back last week, there was only about 5 or 6 of them there. And then there was a few more that trickled in throughout the rest of the week. I'm sure there'll be a sprinkling of the under-19s, under-21s that will play, like Jamal Aloba and Caden Young and one or two others. So it'll be very much that, lots of players that are potentially going to go out on loan and young players to sort of get some sort of minutes into the legs. Maybe we might see McGinn and Watkins for a few minutes, but I can't see them playing too much of a part in this game. Maybe more likely on Saturday.
Yeah, you kind of have to remember a lot of the main part of the force team came back there yesterday, so you don't really expect them to feature too much. You might expect one or two, or the ones who came back early, you'll expect them to kind of feature, just for the sake of keeping up their fitness, get the match fitness ready. Where the ones who came back Monday, you might see a few come in for about 15 minutes here, 20 minutes here. But to be honest, I'm not expecting a whole lot from them, because at the same time, some on holidays to lovely places, blacks and probably keeping up their own little fitness, what they're doing. Ollie Watkins probably on a honeymoon from his wedding. So he was probably only doing a little bit here and there. So I can't really imagine a whole lot of players being there. Just like you said, players probably going on loan, players who've been fringes that have come back since last week. They're the ones you kind of expect. And if they kind of get a chance to prove the manager wrong and say, no, this is where I belong, then great. If not, there would be no hard done, boys.
Yeah, exactly. And like you say, it's always one of those where a couple of players might catch the eye and might score a couple of nice goals. It's generally been the case, and one or two of the younger players might come through and sort of put themselves in the mind ahead of the tour to America, and we'll get excited about a younger player, a la Berenachera, I'm sure we'll talk about in a bit, and the season before, and Philogene, and all of a sudden they were going to be the players that are going to be challenging the first team, and all of a sudden they get sent out on loan and then sold. So yeah, we just need to maybe just calm down a little bit with the preseason. But as Michael has said, we need some Villa football in our lives, so we'll take what we can get. Exactly. And a few people saying Leon Bailey's still on the beach, and I think Kevin said he's been on the beach for 3 years. So yeah. But yeah, I'm massively looking forward to it, and we'll see a little bit of Aston Villa, and as I say, the games and the time will fly. We'll see this game tomorrow on Wednesday night. We'll see the game on Saturday. Then we go to America. We've got the 3-game tour over there. Then we've got Roma, I think. And then we've got the 2 games in 2 days against, who is it? Marseille and Villarreal. So
yes, Villarreal back in 2 days.
Yeah. So there's some fairly competitive games there, and a good opportunity to see some of the players. I think what I'm really hoping that happens this season, and probably take us into a bit of transfer chat now, but what I'm really hoping for this season is that the business, as much as it can be, ins and outs, is done before the main games in the preseason. We're not sort of scratching around with sort of trying to figure out a way of playing in the last 1 or 2 games of the preseason. We've got the main bulk of the squad, everything set up for this tour to America. Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 will come in, or 1 or 2 might go out, but it's not like last season where we had all these players coming back from various international competitions, which we couldn't help. But then we were trying to get rid of players like Diego Carlos, and it just felt all really disjointed in what we were doing. I really want everything settled for this preseason. And, even if that means not making that many signings, which whether we are going to or not, I just think it's much better to have the settled side, knowing how they want to play, knowing exactly what Unai Emery wants to do and what he expects of them. And that can set us up for a real season.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with what you're saying. You kind of want your squad to be settled before the first day of the season, or more or less coming into probably midway through the American tour, try to get them settled in for the games against Marseille and Villarreal. But in saying that, there's nothing wrong with having the consistency of our squad from last season going into this season, and I know there's a whole cliche of we're a momentum team, but if you get rid of a few fringe players, maybe on loan, permanent, how you say, and then you add 1 or 2, I kind of really expect like 1 or 2 signings that are really going to add like a bit of competition as opposed to being a main star, because I really think Malin's going to have a good season. I think Garcia is going to have a good season. So I can like the signing from one player, which we will discuss later on. I think that's a great sign in terms of having that bit of depth and quality, that bit of experience that he had in different competitions. Like these are kind of players you kind of need to bring in that you know they're going to do a job. You know the quality won't drop when you substitute a player, which you've kind of seen last season prior to the signing of Rashford, Marco Asensio, and Axel Disasi. You've seen them standards kind of drop a little bit when you're making your substitutions. Where if we kind of go into this season with the positive mindset and having that squad settled, and like the players you said there, which coming in being settled before the season start, will be a lot more ease. So that's why I kind of think I 100% agree with you.
Yeah. A few people saying, Michael says to both of us what he really wants to see is a change of mindset. Really want us to come a dirty effing B. We let ourselves down in key moments last season. I think that's what a lot of Aston Villa supporters want to see. We've the last 2 or 3 seasons we've had some brilliant runs, and Adam's talked about that as well. The run with the squad was 10th. We can't keep doing that, and we won't keep doing that run every season. We do need better coming in, but I also think, on back of Michael's point, that mindset needs to change. That ability to win the game where we're not necessarily the favorite, where we are the favorites, and we need to impose ourselves on the game. The ability to maybe dig in away from home and just get back to sort of that being nasty to play against and winning 1-0, winning 2-1, that kind of thing. Those are the points that we need to make. The being ruthless from scoring on set pieces. I know we scored quite a few set pieces, but it did feel like we wasted a hell of a lot of opportunities from set pieces, or just with poor deliveries. I think back to, I don't know if it was last season with Arsenal, maybe it was the season before, but they seemed to win so many games at the start of that season just through scoring a goal at a key moment from a corner or from a free kick. And it's these key moments that can change the game, and that's what I'm looking for. And I do think many times that occurs from having like a settled side, having a squad that knows exactly what is expected of them. So that's what I'm hoping for. I do think we need quality in certain areas. I really do. I do think we need a bit more competition in certain areas. But I alluded to this last week. I do think that we need to see better from some of the players that are here already. And that includes Ollie Watkins, that includes if Emi Martinez stays, it includes even John McGinn, it includes it includes Ezri Konsa as well. I know he was brilliant in some moments of the season, but there was others where he wasn't as at his highest standard, even Pau Torres as well. So there were moments from players that weren't at their level, and that's what I want to see, them being that consistent level that we know that they can be.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and you're going to have games where you're not going to be at your level in terms of being on the ball. But if we have that different side of our game, right, let's be a bit more nasty. Let's try and impose ourselves. Let's just work hard, see what we can get out of this. Because 9 times out of 10, we've seen it. Teams will impose themselves on us when it's not going their way and when they want to be physical, try and be a battle in midfield. And 9 times out of 10, they've won because we shy away from that. It's like, oh, this is not what we're used to. We just want to play pretty football, play it around, be dominant when we can on the ball. So I think we need that other bit of element to our game in terms of the dirty mindset of, right, it's not going our way. They're imposing themselves on us. We know we're a lot better than them. We know we're a lot stronger. Let's do that as well, because the teams are going to do it to us. Why not do it to them? It's the natural part of football. It always has been, always will be. So we really need to be a bit more, I'm not going to say like pure dirty, try and take players out of the game, but just put one in and say, yeah, this is what we're going to do, and we're here for it. So you're not necessarily going to try and hurt the person, but you kind of are to let the team know that we're not going to shy away from this.
Absolutely. Let's get into the comments. Gary said at the minute we are the 6th best team on paper. I'm not sure now. That is potentially true. I did put a tweet out a few weeks ago about, if we weren't to make any significant signings, and that included the loan signings, which it doesn't look like we're going to do, where do people think we would finish, or how do you think people think we would do? And there were quite a few people that said, look, we would finish where we are still now. We've got a good squad. So there was some positivity, but yeah, it will take, I think that will take, as I said, those players that I've mentioned that have were slightly inconsistent up in their game. That's what I really do think it will take. And so I'll come to your question about the Turkish sides a bit later, because I did mention that the other day to someone I was chatting to, and it does seem a little bit strange. James Wood said the squad at the moment is better than the start of last season. That's interesting. Sai said we should play away like we do at home. The mindset away is so different. 100% agree. Kevin said we definitely need to strengthen, but basically everyone forgot we are a top side. The window doesn't shut till September. Plenty of time for transfers. I absolutely agree. And there is probably an element of seeing that we get money for good money for players that we want to get rid of, and also assess transfer fees or transfer offers that we receive for players that we might not have considered selling. And we will get into that in a little while. Amritsar, great to have you in the chat, mate. And Adam said, don't think Emery would get the best out of Garnacho. He likes to be touchline tight, and Emery doesn't play that way. So people mentioning the Garnacho story again. We shall see about that. So before we get into the transfers, let's hit that like button, people, and hit that subscribe button. Help us on the road to 6,000 subscribers. We have passed the 5,800 number. I have got the graphic. There we go. It is there. 5,800 is done. Less than 200 needed now to hit that 2K mark. So please do 6K mark. Sorry. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and keep your comments flowing. So yes,
that was pure rap. You did wrong, wasn't it? Just new slide. There we go.
Yeah, exactly. Smooth as anything. But yeah, we actually made a signing this week amongst all of the sort of social media panic. I don't know if it was as glamorous as Aston Villa supporters were hoping for, with all the Newcastle signing Ekatike apparently, and Alanga signing for them, and Chelsea signing everyone from whoever it might be across the globe. Madueke signing for Arsenal, but we signed our very own goalkeeper, Marco Bizzo, I believe, from Brest. The cue all the jokes that are coming through.
Nice pair.
Yeah, nice pair of hands, and he's the breast of the bunch, as they say. But Marco Bizzo, yes, from Club Brest, and 34 years of age, played in the Champions League last season. Actually played in 9 out of the 10 games. Has been capped as a full cap from 2020 for the Netherlands, and has played 139 times for Brest from 2021 to 25. AZ Alkmaar before that from 2017 to 2021, 125 appearances, and Genk before that. So quite a lengthy career, being at some good clubs, as I say, represented Netherlands as well. So I mean, I don't know a huge amount about him, to be honest with you, but if we talk about a player that played in the Champions League last season, I think he was the third highest clean sheets, or part of the team that was the third best in the league last season. So got to be a bit of an upgrade on Robin Olsen, and that's what we want. We want some reasonable competition for Emi Martinez. Should obviously Emi Martinez be staying at Aston Villa?
Yeah, absolutely. No, he was signed as number 2. That was clearly been said according to a lot of reports. And it is an upgrade on Olsen, you know, as much as Olsen had a great game against Brentford, and we all kind of remember that. But before that and after that, not so much, you know. So you kind of need someone who's going to come in, and like I said earlier, where standards don't drop. And you always felt that with Robin Olsen and goals, the defence wasn't confident. You know, they really kind of had to step back a bit more, try and protect the goal. And if they knew a shot was going, it was going in. Where you want that pair of hands, you know, and that offset where Emi Martinez gets injured, if he's still with us at the end of this transfer window, or there's an illness, whatever it is, where he's missing, you want that safe pair of hands. You want that confidence from your defence to say, yeah, he's here, it's fine, don't worry about it. Standard hasn't dropped, we keep going. And he's played in the Champions League, he's played international football with the Netherlands, a great country for football, by the way. And that's what we want. We want 2 good quality goalkeepers, and that's kind of hard to come by for Aston Villa. Anyway, normally we've always had the one goalkeeper where you name a few like Sorsen, Brad Friedel, Emi Martinez right now, Bosnich. Like you only really had one good goalkeeper, and then the next one who was coming in was just the level completely different, and that's what we kind of want now. With two goalkeepers of a similar level, similar experiences in European football, and thankfully now we've got it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's see some of the puns that we've got. TK said he's a handful, and Pete said he's a right tit. Credo says simply the breast. 100, absolutely.
I like it.
And Michael apparently likes breast. And Captain Mike says Bezo has his knockers, but I like him absolutely. Oh, wow. And Sai says, does this mean we play with two up front? Yes. Let's get them all going now. Let's get them all going now. But yeah, a lot of people saying it's an Olsen upgrade. Gary must be better than Olsen, surely. And yeah, Emmy needed competition at 100%. And with regards to Bezo, it looks like, obviously, if Martinez stays, it looks like he would play the game against Newcastle. So this would be an interesting question. You know, looks on paper like he's an upgrade on Olsen as the number 2 goalkeeper, put pressure on Emi Martinez. So should Bezo start against Newcastle and play very well and keep a clean sheet, does that mean that he keeps his spot in the next game?
I don't know. Look, to go on Emi Martinez, if he's still there, he kind of has to know that last season was well below standards. And I think, for me personally, did complacency get to his head that he knew that Robin Olsen wasn't a threat to his position, not really any competition. He knew he was starting week in, week out. Did that get to his head a little bit? That it doesn't matter how bad I be in training or how bad I might make a mistake here or there. I know I'm starting. I know I'm ahead of him, and that would be it. That's a very easy mindset to get into. It's very easy to get into that. And you've seen last season, he was not saving a lot of shots that he would expect to save. And you could see the frustration in his head. And then it's hard to get out of that mindset of trying to work hard again when you know your second choice goalkeeper is not going to threaten your position whatsoever. So that's a very easy trap to fall into. But if he does leave, my imagination would be is that Aston Villa will have a line or a replacement lined up automatically. I just think we're at that stage now where we can get these replacement lined up as opposed to being stuck. But if on the off chance that Bezo is starting the first game of the season, wherever Emi Martinez,
I'm saying that I think it's because, well, I know obviously Emi got sent off against Man United, so a lot of people are saying that he's suspended for 3 games at the start of the season, but I'm pretty sure there's
3 games. Yeah. So actually, you probably are right. He could start.
But isn't the rule? There's some sort of rule that would be 1 game because of I can't remember what it is now.
I think if you were sent off on the last day of the season and it was an automatic red card.
Lots of people are saying 3, but I could swear it was 1 game. I could swear it's 1 game at the start of the season.
I think it is 1 game, but if it's the chance that...
There we are. Adam says he only misses 1 because it wasn't violent conduct. I'm sure it is, yeah.
Well, if Bezo starts, regardless if Emi's there or not, if it's true suspension, then he will start. And if he keeps a clean sheet, I don't imagine he'll keep his spot, regardless if he performs unbelievably.
Be interested though.
I imagine Martinez is going to come back in and be under pressure and go, right, if he's out performing that well against the Newcastle side with a frightening attack that comes like on the counter, I need to step it up. And I've no doubt in his mentality and in his ability to do that. But he kind of has to do that himself. That's something you can coach.
Yeah. Well, lots of people in the chat still thinking that there could be a chance for Martinez to go. So let's jump to that. I mean, what do you think? There was a bit of speculation fuel with the new kit launch that he wasn't filmed with the goalkeeper shirt on. And then there's been this talk of, Villa, him in negotiations, and he's been speaking to them. And then there's the Garnacho thing that's going as well. where do you think it stands on the Emi Martinez thing? Because it was really ramped up with Man United, then it's gone really quiet, and now it seems to start to ramp up again. Can you see him moving on?
Look, at the start of the end of last season, it was all speculation after speculation. He was leaving, and then he changed agency to the George Mendes situation to go under him. But it all suggests to me this is coming from the player side. This is not coming from the club saying, "Oh, what to selling him due for the fact that PSO." This is, for me, this is coming through Emi Martinez, and he can't necessarily go unless United get rid of Onana at this start of the end of last season, and Atletico getting rid of Jan Oblak, because they were the two clubs that were really circling around them. But now it seems that Onana has got a hamstring injury and could be out for 6 weeks, and he's fighting fit, or he's fighting to get back fit for the first day of the season. So that's why Man United have kind of ramped up the interest a little bit for Emi Martinez, that they don't want to take this gamble. So if he goes to Man United, by all means he goes there, but I don't imagine we should accept anything less than 70 million, in my opinion, because you have to remember he's a 2-time Ballon d'Or trophy winner in a row. He's also a 2-time best FIFA keeper award. He's a World Cup winner. He's had now the Champions League experience, Conference League experiences, so he's won the Copa America as well. So he clearly has a lot of accolades, and anything less than 70 million, in my opinion, should be straight away no. And 70 million just gets you on the table to have a chat, for me. So if he does leave, it should be a reasonably high bid.
Fee. Yeah.
And if he does, then by all means. But I think if there's a sniff on, say, from Aston Villa that he's leaving, that's it, it's gone, I think they'll have a replacement lined up straight away before he even leaves. That's what I think will happen. They won't let him go unless the replacement's lined up.
Yeah, let's hope that's the case. But a lot of people talk about Man United and just the fact that they've been sort of scrambling around for Mbeumo and not been able to get that deal over the line. So I know they did some negotiation with Wolves to kind of move the Cunha deal over the line in terms of like the structuring of payments. They had to do a few things here and there, and obviously they have got assets that they can sell. I know Amorim sort of saying that players have got to. The ones he doesn't want part of the squad have to report for training at 5 p.m, so they're not part of the actual main squad. So there seems to be a bit of, he's stamping his authority. But again, with Man United, there always seems to be that chaos around. But, Kevin said it's clear they can't afford him. Manu won't be able to sell Onana now. He's injured. So that stops that one. Yeah, Gaz says 70 million. Everyone knows we want him off our books. That's in terms of Martinez, but Adam says some Villa pods are saying he's only worth about 40 million, and Ben Jacobs said the same. Well, I mean, ultimately we can say whatever. Yeah, but Aston Villa can say whatever price they want.
That's
and that's up to the
podcasts and journalists saying, "Oh, it's only going to be worth about 40 million max." Why? He has a contract extension up for 4 to 5 years. He's got all these accolades, individual awards as goalkeeper. We're saying it's only 40 million max.
Yeah, well, it's up to what the players value is what the club is willing to accept, and then ultimately what another club is willing to pay for them. Obviously with Newcastle signing Elanga from Nottingham Forest, there was debate as to whether he's actually worth the 55 million or whatever they've paid for him. But ultimately, Newcastle paid that money.
55 million. And I'm not saying he's not a good player. He is a very good player. I think he'll suit Newcastle in the way that they play. But I don't think he's a 55 million pound player. And if he's a 55 million pound player, Emi Martinez should not be any less than that.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, Gaz said if we don't want to sell, then 70 million is fair, but we are open to it. Hence, 40 million is more realistic. Possibly. But again, it depends how much we want to actually sell. Like if we're open to the sale, it's all about how much we actually want to sell.
Yeah, this is my question to you though, Rich. This was all at the start where it was the 40 million pound before PSO was kind of resolved. Was 40 million pound a low ball valuation in terms of just kind of getting that books covered for PSR. But now that's resolved, are we able to demand whatever we want?
Look, PSR is Villa could sign whoever they wanted to. Villa could spend as much money as they want to. It's just that you have to be within the PSR rulings at the end of every season. So Villa could go out and spend massively, but then they would be under pressure to sell multiple players at the end of the season, so they didn't breach the rules in terms of their losses. It doesn't mean that you can't go out and sign smash money on players. It's as Gaz says there, it's more the squad cost rulings with the wages that's the problem. Because obviously, if you go and splash out 100 million, 120 million on a player, you're obviously going to be smashing out high wages for them, because those two go hand in hand. And unfortunately, Villa's turnover doesn't match the wages that they'd be able to spend. So that's where the problem comes in, and that's where even clubs like Newcastle, Nottingham Forest, all these clubs who want to challenge that sort of top six or big six elite or whatever, that's where they struggle, because their turnover isn't matching the wages that they could pay and then in the position that they're in the league and where they want to go. So that's the problem. That's why you have to really box clever, which is why when we were asked last week about who you would, in terms of PSR, in terms of like then what that could do for the squad, the value of the player, that if you were looking at our highest value player, then it's at the moment it's Morgan Rogers. You'd be able to command a really, really high fee for him.
Yeah.
And you would then be able to supplement that by buying other players in the squad. Like Gaz said about Emi Martinez, realistically, yeah, you're probably looking at 40 to 50 million. But to then sign another goalkeeper at the number one level, you've probably got to splash out the same amount of money. So you're not really, you might be getting a Chevalier who's got more years in him and more potential, which is great. The same as if you sold Ollie Watkins, you're selling him for 50 million probably, but you're going to have to splash that amount of money out for a top six Premier League club to get the same out of him. So that's where it becomes difficult. That's where it really becomes difficult in terms of how you balance up the sales. But yeah, you are saving on wages. You are absolutely right. If you were to sell an Emi Martinez and get a Chevalier, you are probably you're probably talking a 30%, 40% wage difference. So that's where they've got to really box clever. And there will probably be one big player that probably does move on, because otherwise we are going to be shopping in these circles of trying to sign sort of 18, 19, 20-year-olds that are highly rated across Europe. And you're looking at sort of bringing them in, polishing them up, seeing if you could send them out on loan. If they're not going to quite work, sell them off a profit, do it again, rinse and repeat. Or if one of them does kick on, then they go in the first team and then they fly, much like Morgan Rogers has done. And that's the quandary that Villa are in at the minute.
Yeah, tricky one. It is a tricky one.
It is. But the player who has been linked today, i.e. Tuesday, of leaving the club, like in terms of concrete interest, is Jacob Ramsey. Now, we talked about him a lot with regards to the PSR situation, because it would be pure profit. He's come through the academy. That then quietened down. It said Aston Villa didn't have any intention of selling him. I think that's probably still the case, that they wouldn't want to sell him. I think Unai Emery really rates him, but apparently Nottingham Forest have identified him as their number one target, looking at around a £40 million bid. I've also seen Everton have declared their interest and are willing to sort of have conversation about him. First of all, before we discuss the sort of, I guess, the realism of the move, does it surprise you a little bit that, with all due respect, clubs like Nottingham Forest and Everton are interested in him, and potentially Villa are looking to consider that?
It doesn't surprise me with Forest due to the fact that they've sold Alanya, but I'm kind of surprised that they made him the number one target. I thought maybe they probably would have went a different route, because they are such a breakout team. And Ramsey's not exactly someone who plays on the counter, who's a ball carrier, who likes to, get the ball high up the pitch. So maybe are they looking at a different route for next season? Possibly, if that's what they're doing. With Everton, I'm
more talking
a
about the
little bit
level
surprised by it, but at the same time, I'm kind of not, because they're going into a new stadium. So they're probably looking at signing players to, impress the fans, try and get a good high finish. So it's going to be, that'll be a difficult deal for Everton to kind of make. But at the same time, I think the realism of Ramsey going to either Forest or Everton, I just don't think it happens.
Yeah, but do you think that it indicates the level of ability that Jacob Ramsey is at right now and the reputation that he's at? Because we obviously see him as a player who could go on to be so much better if not for injuries and a little bit of maybe a belief.
Yeah.
But it's not clubs like Tottenham. It's not, although they may come in for it, but it's not Tottenham. It's not Newcastle, who initially were interested. It's not, say, Liverpool, who maybe when he was sort of flying at age 20, 21, that were interested in him. This is, with all due respect, again, Nottingham Forest and Everton that are interested in him. So does it suggest that he's probably not, if Villa are top six and wanting to progress, is Jacob Ramsey not going to be on that journey with Aston Villa? Is he not necessarily good enough to be on that journey with Aston Villa? Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I kind of see where you're coming from. Is it a case of, is Ramsey going to hold Villa back from progressing? And it's not a disrespectful thing, but you kind of have to look at where he is now to where he was a few years ago. With that interest from Liverpool, other top six clubs kind of circling, but we managed to keep a hold of him. Where now he's getting interest from Forest and Everton. That's no disrespect to Forest and Everton, by the way. They're obviously they are very big clubs, but when the bigger clubs interested for him, it kind of shows a downgrade in interest as such. So, but I kind of see where you're coming from. Like, he's someone who struggles to keep himself fit. So if you're getting an offer and people are saying between 30 to 40 million pounds to Ramsey, I'll say this again: if Elanga's going for 55 million, Forest are forgetting that, you pay up. It's the oldest rule, unwritten rule in the book of football. If you got this for somebody, how about you pay this for us? It's how it works, So they got a chunk of money, we'll want a chunk of that. It's the way
and obviously
a ridiculous valuation from Villa saying between 45 to 50 million pounds. Because Villa, like you said earlier, Villa can put any valuation they want on any player.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Morgan Gibbs White is wanted by Tottenham Hotspur. There's all that controversy there. So interesting that Jacob Ramsey is then the player that they're interested in to sort of potentially replace someone like him, although slightly different types of player and positions. But in the comments, a lot of people sort of not sort of that fussed about losing or selling Jacob Ramsey. Marcus said it doesn't help the SCR situation. That is very true. Gaz said he was sad to see JJ go, but 40 million is a decent price. Engine number 9 said if Ramsey goes, we will get Jack back. He was 10-1 down to 6-4 on odds checker. Interesting stuff. Adam says JJ has 2 league goals in the last 2 seasons. Can't see how we could turn down 30 to 40 million. No problem with Ramsey going, says Stephen. Bless you, says Gaz, for your sneeze. Yeah. Adam also says he only gets the hype because he's one of our own. Pete Bainbridge, let JJ go, bring in Harvey Barnes. Both similar ability, but Barnes' ceiling is higher in my opinion, although people have said he does get more injury prone. Yeah. Kevin said Barnes is an upgrade on Ramsey, putting emotions aside. And yeah, so I think a lot of people sort of saying that is potential if we got that offer of 40 million, not too much in terms of the fans, the viewers that are watching us sort of standing in that way. And on a PSR perspective, pure profit would mean that we could go out and spend money. Obviously, then we'd still have to balance the books with the wages and the wages to turnover. Although I would assume that the 25 to 26, like last season, in terms of what we brought in turnover will be massive. Will be massive in comparison to the seasons before because of the run that we had in the Champions League and all of that stuff. So that will increase the turnover and probably put the wage balance a little bit more into perspective. But certainly we'd need to watch out. Obviously, with this season coming through, because we're only in the Europa League, and not until you get to sort of quarter-final, semi-final, do you really start to see the returns on the money that's coming in terms of prize money. So that adds that little bit of extra pressure. Amritsar said he thinks JJ has another gear to go. Emery clearly sees something in him, just not sure he fits our system. I just don't think he stays fit. That's the word. Like, he gets 3 or 4 games. You seem like he's getting some rhythm together. He seems like he's trusting in his body. It seems like he starts to take players on, and then he gets a little injury or something happens. And I'd like him to be more. It's that mindset piece again away from home. He needs to be more ruthless away from home in multiple games because he kind of plays within himself too much. So yeah, that's where I'd like to see more from him.
Yeah, and I think if we do sell him, I'd like to think we find somebody who's like that bit of a killer instinct in the box, if you will. You know, he's going to chip in with goals. Not necessarily being the highest goal scorer, but, you know, chipping in with crucial moments, you know, them goals that kind of make a difference between drawing and losing, winning and drawing. These would be the things you kind of look for. So for me, I'd sell Ramsey simply because he doesn't stay fit. I just feel like the level that we're at now, it's sort of surpassed him due to the fact that he hasn't stayed fit, and that's no fault of his own. Mm-hmm. But had he stayed fit, he would have been at that level. Maybe we would have seen a different Jacob Ramsey. But because he hasn't, we've had to kind of progress because we're not going to wait for him. That's just not going to happen. We're not going to wait for him. So, in a way, he's kind of not fallen down the pecking order being not selected, but he's fallen down the pecking order in terms of the level of the players that they're at.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree. Guys, please hit that like button. One more call for that. We've got over 300 people in the chat. We're obviously live on X and on YouTube, so follow us at Villa Park Pod, follow Martin at Marto Leonardo, and like and subscribe on YouTube, and then also repost, retweet, like on X as well to help spread the word of the channel. Let's talk Enzo, because he is apparently very, very advanced. I think it's almost pretty much announced that he is moving to Benfica on a 5-year, that will be a 5-year contract. It looks like it's a loan at the minute with an obligation to buy, but it's for 15 million euros. Whether that 15 million euros has been sort of promised or put into the accounts this year, or is going to be put into the accounting period at the end of the season, who knows? But looks like there's certainly an obligation to buy in there for 15 million euros. And one of those that's been a bit more sort of dividing again of the Aston Villa supporters, many saying that, you know, his reputation has sort of enhanced with the fact that he's not been a part of the squad. Saw flashes of him in pre-season, then he went off to Valencia and did well, but has obviously been deemed surplus to requirements at Aston Villa, and if a good price come in, he's moved on. So where do you stand on the Barrenechea situation? Are you sort of sad that he hasn't been given an opportunity, or do you see it as good business?
I'm kind of sad he's not being given the opportunity, to be honest with you. I've watched him closely when he was at Valencia, and I have to say he was incredible, consistent, you know, really good at progressing the ball between the lines, defensively solid as well, and he's an all-round good central midfielder, in my opinion. I felt he should have been given a chance, given the situation with Kamara not signing a new deal at the moment. So maybe a bit of competition at midfield probably would have been good for us, I feel. But at the same time, if Emery doesn't necessarily see a place for him, then by all means, it's good business to get 15 million, although it's a loan. But if we're getting 15 million for him and he hasn't even played a game for us, then I take it. It's good business, but I just think that he should have been given a chance, in my opinion.
Fair. People in the chat Adam said Enzo played well for a rubbish team in La Liga. Never a guarantee to play for us, but odd he's been sold this quickly. And said Enzo not given a chance. Hope there is a well-on clause, a sell-on clause, I think, but there is a 30% sell-on clause as well. So good business there. Gaz said he was bought to flip, nothing to see here. And I did say in my sort of transfer talk video that I think Aston Villa supporters are going to have to get used to this in terms of the business model. We are going to see players that are brought in with really no intention of them troubling the first team. They're going to go out on loan. They're going to hopefully enhance their reputation, play some first team games for another club, and then be able to be sold for profit. That's something that Aston Villa are going to do. And we're going to, Chelsea have done that for season after season. They've had multiple players. At any one time, they've got something like 30 or 40 players on loan, haven't they, that are associated with the club, and then they get sold off for yours. Of a sudden, see a random player getting sold for 15 or 20 million from Chelsea, and then you think, well, they never even got anywhere near the first team. So this is something that Aston Villa supporters are going to have to get used to, and not to sort of get too attached to players. But I do think it's kind of weird how Enzo Barrenechea is like, it's such a shame. He's good. I thought he could be a brilliant player. I really rate him. And everyone's saying that on X. Not everyone, but a lot of Villa fans are saying that on X. Yeah, Ollie Watkins, who scored double figures goals for us every season for the last 5 seasons, is shit. It's just amazing, the minds of Aston Villa supporters sometimes.
Well, it's the amount he should be getting realistically, as opposed to what he...
No, but I don't... No. Let's take... I'm saying that someone is a good player who can't get anywhere near the Aston Villa team, but then someone who is in the Aston Villa team and is consistently our top scorer is shit. That's the word. Not that he could score more goals. We all know that Watkins could score more goals. We all know that. But it's just that the logic there is he's a shit player who gets in our team, and he's a great player who can't get in the team. It's just amazing, the logic.
It's the experience, though. Enzo Barrenechea hasn't got the Premier League experience where a lot of players now in our midfield does. So you kind of see maybe the reason why he's being sold again.
Yeah, and as I say, I just think it's a way that we'll have to be. Eileen Jr. will probably be the same. Lewis Dobbin will probably be the same. He'll go on. He'll be on loan somewhere this season with a view to buy. And Louis Barry's going to Sheffield United on loan for a season, so he'll probably move on at the end of the season, or they might look to do the deal in January. This is just what's going to happen. That if we're talking about someone like Jacob Ramsey, who's been troubling the England squad, potentially getting in the England squad if he could stay fit. If we're talking about him, us being happy about selling him because he can't quite get into the first team and can't quite push Aston Villa forward, then I'm sorry, but Enzo Barrenechea isn't gonna get anywhere near it. We've got to adjust our standards in terms of what we expect and what we want from players. That's on us as Aston Villa supporters. And we just need to understand that there's different levels to the game, and there's different levels to the way that we operate as a business. There's going to be young players that will come in that will just farm out. There's going to be young players that will be highly rated that will bring into trouble, to be developed with Unai Emery and get into the first team. And then there's going to be, sort of make weight players that we see value in, that we can flip and move on for profit. And then there'll be the odd big signing that will come in. And that's what will happen. And there'll be players that will be sold if the price is right. 100%.
That's it. At the end of the day, everyone's for sale once the price is right.
Yeah. Now, a few questions coming about Harvey Elliott. And I guess if Ramsey was to move on, would that be an option that you would consider? Highly rated player, probably needs an opportunity for first team football. He's looking at moving on from Liverpool. They're open to the sale. He did very, very well in the under-21s competition, although he was clearly way too good for that level. And he's not necessarily the same type of player as Jacob Ramsey, but could you see that potentially being done?
If we do sell Ramsey and we decide to go for Harvey Elliott, I'd take Harvey Elliott in a heartbeat. I just think he's an incredible player. He's young. There's a lot of hunger for him to try and prove himself at the Premier League stage. To say that I want to be a player now in the Premier League, an established Premier League player, not just a rotational, I'm good at these moments. And you're right in what you're saying. He was way too good for that under-21 European Championship. But I'm saying that he's shown the level that he's at. That's the main thing. Himself or any football fan that might want him at his club, he's shown the level that he's at. He's shown he's ready for the big time. Because if he didn't perform that European Under-21 Championship, Liverpool would find it very difficult to sell him, in my opinion. But because he did perform, he's shown that he's at that level. He's shown that, no, this is not my level. I'm way above it. Not as an arrogant thing, but as a confidence thing to say that this is not my level. That's my level. And I welcome Harvey Elliott, in my opinion. I think he shoots straight into our team on that left wing role or right wing role. He can play anywhere along either flank or even through the middle. I think he'd be a great fit for us. Young as well. And you get a lot of years out of him.
Well, look, lots of people agreeing with you. Manzo, Elliott would be a dream signing. Gaz said he fits our system really well. Kev said he'd be wide right cutting in. And to say he was excellent in under-21s, had the ability, but could he be a little bit lightweight? Interesting to see what he could do.
Would he in the Premier League how long now? So I think he's well adjusted to the physicality of it.
Would he necessarily have the pace that we require? I still feel like we need pace. I know Marlon's in there with a bit of pace. I just really think we need some more lightning pace up front in those attacking positions to be a threat in behind.
He has got a bit. He might be one of them that's underratedly fast. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't really get a whole lot of chances at Liverpool. No, he only comes to the bench, or when he does start, it's a midweek game or a League Cup or FA Cup game, or a game that means nothing at all in the weekend. Like we've seen him get a few starts after they won the league. So he could be one of them that's underratedly quick, and you wouldn't have figured it.
Yeah. I guess that one puts him alongside Garnacho. Who would you prefer? I mean, I know the different types of player, but you know, in terms of sort of a bigger signing, I don't think we could sign Garnacho and Elliott. So if that is something that is being considered, what would you say to a Garnacho coming in at Aston Villa? Do you think that Unai Emery could sort of tame the beast, so to speak, in terms of Garnacho's attitude?
He probably could. If he's able to hold John Durant for so long, he probably could hold Garnacho. But I would rather Harvey Elliott. I just think Garnacho is a big gamble, in my opinion, you know, with the attitude problems and, you know, coming out with the way he's public speaking. Someone put in there Semenyo as an option, but he only signed a new deal there for Bournemouth, so he's not going anywhere. So I think Harvey Elliott would be a better option, because you have to remember Harvey Elliott's hungry now to prove himself, where Garnacho was only leaving because of he's throwing the prams. You know what I mean? Throwing toys out the prams, where it's like,
he was throwing the prams as well.
What?
He was throwing the prams as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, but at least Harvey Elliott showed in a way that, you know, yes, I'm throwing toys at the pram, but I'm doing it in a way that I know I am this good. But Garnacho, I don't know what it is about Garnacho. I do rate him as a footballer, but I don't think he's a top level footballer like he puts himself out to be. I think it's a real ego thing for him, and I don't think we need egos in that dressing room.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's going to be interesting these next few days as to what happens. I think before this US tour, I think there probably will be some movement in and out. I know there's been, you know, a lot of the younger players going out on loan today. I think Finley Munro's gone to Swindon, and one or two other younger players have gone out on loan. Yeah. So that's good for those guys to get the experience. But, you know, Ramsey, I don't think this one will go away. I don't think. There'll be one of the, I think the Martinez conversation will still carry on. I think the Ollie Watkins conversation will probably still carry on from in some circles. So it's going to be really interesting. Boubacar Kamara hasn't signed that new deal. Whether we sort of leave that to one side for the first 6 months of the season.
The things where you kind of have to make a decision. Do we gamble and if we make Champions League football, he signs a new deal, or do we cash in on the off chance that you don't? You know, because all these now top six are making some serious and big signings. So maybe is that starting to play a factor into Aston Villa's head?
Yeah. Let's see some questions in from the chat. What have we got? So I think this links two questions together. So I asked, where have all the Turkish teams getting all the money from when they've been skint for years? And to coincide with that, David said, have Villa got no money?
Well, first off, I don't think Turkish teams have ever been broke. They've always signed players. It's always been seen as this like sort of retirement move for players, but it's not really a kind of retirement league because you've seen players go there and they're all getting big money. So maybe it is a factor of they probably have a little bit more now as opposed to the economy boost for their league. That could always play a factor. So Turkish teams haven't really been broke. They just haven't been able to attract big players. But now with Victor Osimhen going there, maybe there's been that interest.
Yeah, so mate, I think they've eased some financial restraints on the league, so that could be why they're spending more money. And on the question of Villa, I don't think it's a fact we haven't got the money. I just think we've talked about it. The squad cost rules. We've got to be careful with the wages with regards to we've obviously paid a fine this season.
It's a restriction.
And yeah, it's a bit of a restriction. And I just think the business model has also been that we've signed quite a few players. We signed quite a few players last pre-season. You know, we made signings in January as well, not just the loan signings. We signed Daniel Marlon, we signed Andre Garcia. So we maybe signed a few players ahead of schedule. And, you know, if you look at this time last pre-season, Liverpool didn't make any real big signings at all. I think they signed, what was his name? Who hardly even played. Sorry?
Chiesa. That was pretty much the
Chiesa. Yeah, that was it. That was it.
They signed the keeper, but he went on loan back to Valencia.
Yes.
So actually, he might be in the squad then a little bit of the season, but whether they reach him much, I don't know.
And obviously the big one, Newcastle didn't make any signings either. So, you know, it's one of those things that sometimes clubs will make that decision not to do too much at all. So we'll certainly see what happens, and I think we'll need a couple of outgoings first before we do any. But I don't think it's the case that we have no money. It just could be that we're just kind of settling down the spending to see where we're at with regards to getting rid of some of these fringe players and some of these potential big earners as well. Next question, engine number 9 says, do you think we will play a different system this season?
If there's this chance that we sign a centre-back, maybe I can probably see us playing 3 at the back. But if we don't sign, like we're saying, I don't see us playing a different system. I think we'll play the same system that we have. If it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah. I think we might see more attacking play from both fullbacks rather than just the one on the left. I think we might see both fullbacks pushing up a little bit more. But in terms of a general change of and hopefully we'll see Morgan Rogers more through the middle, because I just think he was totally wasted out wide.
Yeah,
and I know he came up with some big moments and stuff and some decent assists, but the way that he just wasn't involved in the game. And I really hope that the part of his game, you know, the sort of sloppiness of his ball possession at times or the decision making at times that he had, I really hope that he looks to improve that this season, because if he does improve that, he will be up there with the best players in the league, because his physicality, the way that he can beat players, like I say, the big moments that he has, if he can match that with the consistency of passing and decision making, he'll be unstoppable this season. So I really hope that he plays through the middle, because that will be anything over a sort of a change in tactic or a change in formation. Just having him playing through the central areas will be great. So that's what I think. That's what I think will be great. What else have we got? Do you think Bezo will be our number 1 goalkeeper?
No. Very quick there. Sorry. No. Nice press. No.
Nice one. And just to end up, obviously we also saw today a bit of a surprise. Actually, I thought it was going to be the 15th of July, but then I saw someone on X say it was going to be more like the 17th of July. And that kind of thought, well, that kind of makes sense, because if they wear the kit on the Wednesday night against Walsall, then it'll be on sale the next day. But actually 7 o'clock this evening, it was just announced on X that the new home kit had been released. It was going to be released. It is actually going to be released for sale on Thursday, but we're not actually wearing it against Walsall. We're not going to be wearing it until the Eintracht Frankfurt game, I believe, in the first game on the US tour. So that's a bit of a strange one. But what do you make of it? First of all, it's always difficult to be really imaginative with a home kit, but pretty nice.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, it is a nice kit, but for me, it's very similar to last season, where kind of the only difference is the new template with the line coming through the center of the jersey, and now it's a nice, lovely little tribute there on the sleeve to the Hulk then. But if you took them two off, it's pretty much the same jersey. Like,
let's put a picture of Marlon up with the. So
it's very similar. Like, the only difference is that little bottom part in the sleeve and the template. That's it. Other than that, I do think it's the same jersey. You get away.
Yeah, with the Adidas stripes are a little, the white, aren't they? And then they've got a slightly different collar, and then I think there's a bit more detail on the claret front. Like, it's got those little dots, and then you got the gold detail.
That's going to be on the pro version, isn't it? That's not going to be on the.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very difficult to be super imaginative on a home kit.
Yeah,
it does what it says on the tin, basically. But what have we got in the chat? Wish we had acorns on it. Yeah, I agree. The keeper shirt is the best shirt so far. Gaz says he quite likes it, but he won't buy it. Engine number 9 says he loves the gold. And Gaz said last year's was better. I prefer the claret stripes. I do think last season was a little bit better. I don't know whether it was just the kind of the Adidas factor that we had back last season, and maybe it's just, obviously we're a bit more used to having it now, and the frequency that Adidas brings
that excitement, whereas this year it's kind of like, are we underwhelmed by it now for the fact that we were
we know we've got Adidas. Yeah. And also
they're all lovely.
The training kits are lovely, but they bring out a new one every 6 weeks. So it's like, that's what I'm saying. Like, with that, we're kind of like Adidas out. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Adidas, but it's like, the home kit comes out, and then it'll be some sort of other training wear that'll come out, and then there'll be the casual wear, the new casual wear that'll be out, and then it'll be another training kit template that'll be out. Then it'll be the third kit that'll be out. It's like, say every sort of 6-7 weeks there's a new kit out. However, like I say, I think it's a nice solid kit, and I'm sure it will sell very, very, very well. Yes, the Muller one is a classic, isn't it? The one behind me. Absolutely. Martin, I think that will do us for tonight. As always, I come on to these and I think, you know what, should we do a fan forum on Tuesday? I don't know how much we've got to talk about, but never disappoints. We always have loads of news to discuss and loads of Aston Villa topics to talk about on and off the pitch. So, as always, a great show. And you guys in the comments absolutely make it with all your comments and questions. We try and get through as many as we possibly can. I'll be back, I think, on Thursday for I'm recording a show special with Charlie, aka Academy AVFC, to talk about what's in store for the under-21s, what transfer news we've got. As I said, we've already seen a couple of them go out on loan, but who else is looking at moving on? Maybe one or two players coming in that we're looking at, highly rated players are coming in that we're looking at as well. So stay tuned for that. I'll also, I'm sure, be back with some transfer talk, rumour shows as well, and potentially a match reaction, a pre-season reaction. I promise you I won't get too carried away after we beat Walsall 6-0 or lose 2-0. Who knows? I promise you I won't get carried away. Make sure, if you haven't already, hit the like button and hit that subscribe button on your way out if you haven't already. Help us on the march to 6,000 subscribers. Martin, thank you for joining me. Thank you all for your comments. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.